Good morning. My name's Ryan Littlestone from forexflow.live. We're going to have another catch up on that wonderful saga of Brexit. Last week, well, we came so near to a deal, but as I say, so near, but yet so far. Parliament actually passed a motion to on the second reading of the Brexit deal, and but then they voted against the timeline for passing that legislation to actually get this thing finally done and moved on to the next phase. So what we saw was the pound get all buoyed up ahead of that, and we hit up towards the 130 level once again. Last week I put up a chart, the weekly chart, just giving some rough ideas of the ranges that were in play. I've updated that chart today, and you can see the weekly chart there. We've got not that much difference, but the ranges are there. But going back to last week, so we had cable up at 130, touching that 130 area. Then the vote came against passing the legislation, or the timeline for the legislation, and we saw the pound fall back as it was always going to do. So where are we now? We're in a position now where Boris is halfway to a deal. We got further than Theresa May has, but now we looks like we're heading for an election. Just today, we've had the news that the EU are going to potentially grant the extension, all by the crossing the I's, sort of dotting the I's and crossing the T's. But now we have to see what the UK parties want to do about this election. Boris is tabling a motion today in Parliament for this election, and we're going to see how the other parties respond to that. So what does that do for the pound? Well, it sort of puts us in limbo at the moment. You know, passing a deal has now sort of fallen down the levels of potential things that can happen now. It is still there. The parties can still decide to agree on the time frame for the legislation, push that through Parliament over the next maybe 6-7 days. But for the pound, we're going to enter this no man's land period again. And as you can see from the chart of March, it's sort of the election period. That's anywhere between this 130 level and down towards the 125 area. There's a lot of eyes in the market at the moment on the 127 level, which we know is quite solid on a technical basis. So a lot of buyers are eyeing this level to maybe pick up and longs or get back into longs. And also that's their sort of range for this election period. But I'm going a bit further down south to 125. So really I'm 125, 130 for this. Now, the reason that is because we don't know what's going to happen in this election. We don't know what the opposition parties are going to do. They could still vote against the motion for an election, which will kick any potential election past this new Jan 2020 extension date, which again brings no deal closer to the table or back onto the table. So it can really swing around in this period now. If we do get an election, then we've got to see whether Boris is going to get a big win. If he gets a big win, a big majority, a majority that doesn't need the DUP to pass the Brexit deal, then the Brexit deal is back on. If the opposition parties do well, when it's more of a hung parliament, Boris gets a worse majority or round about the same majority, then we're still in this mire of uncertainty, and that's probably going to be negative for the pound. What we do know is the EU is unlikely to keep extending. France has already said they're against this long extension. They want a shorter extension. So it's going to be pretty hard if we get to January and the UK is in the same situation as it is now. So for trading the pound, it's pretty difficult. But as I say, look at this area, this range, 130, 125. The 127 area is a consideration to trade. Up towards 130, as it's proved on the chart, has been a place where you can either take profit or take a short. I closed off some of my longer term longs last week just on the back of this renewed uncertainty phase. So again, we just have to see how we take day by day and see what happens next week, and we'll have an update next week for you. So good luck in your trading.